What's going on, guys? Welcome to a review of Gundam GQUUUUX, The Beginning. This basically is a movie compilation, I guess, of the first 3 episodes of the new Gundam GQUUUUX series. Yeah, with me as always, I have Bluespin.
Yeah, and of course, it's being made by both Sunrise and Studio Kara, and of course, it's
Yeah.
written by Hideki Anno, who everyone knows is famous for the Evangelion series. I think this is like one of the first major projects that Anno has worked on since, of course, the Rebuild films ended a few years back.
Uh, yeah, like the first major animation project, I guess,
Yeah.
because, I mean, he's been involved in other things. But yeah, I think it's probably the first major, like, anime project he's been involved with since the Rebuild movies.
Mhm. Yeah, so what's unique about this series is that it takes place in the Universe Century timeline, which everyone knows. It's the classic timeline in which the 1 Year War happens. Amuro Ray being the protagonist, and of course the Char Aznable, who's of course the major antagonist of the series. Of course, there is a major twist to this series. Is now that okay. So basically, like I said, it takes place in the Universe Century timeline. The movie opens up with essentially like a remake.
I feel like we should differentiate. It's definitely an alternate version of the UC timeline.
Yeah,
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff that's different about it.
yeah, and we start off like at the exact same moment of which the original series started. Only difference is that Char gets involved in that very same mission with Xeon, in which Amuro, which in turn allows Amuro to retrieve the RX-78. But here's the thing: Amuro doesn't get the Gundam in this one. It's instead,
Well,
Char.
so Amuro's not. So this is the other thing too, is that Amuro's not even in this at all. We see his father, but Amuro is not even doesn't even make an appearance. I don't think he's even referenced at all in the movie.
No.
So Amuro is not even really a factor. Yeah, like you said, we start off with the invasion of Side 3, like in the original series. However, it is mainly from Char's perspective and not Amuro's. There's a lot of stuff that gets glossed over during this event, and of course that there's a lot more that gets like just not even just glossed over, but completely left out during this retelling, like later on. But basically, Char spots the RX-78 and decides he's going to take control of it and steal it, and which is pretty much what happens. And as he's stealing it, we see Amuro's father, get there, but he doesn't really show up again after that, I don't think.
No.
And then afterwards, Char just completely wreaks havoc on Side 3. Of course, as we know in the original, like with the original, he's careful not to blow a hole in the colony, because it would basically just create a giant, vacuum and suck everything up. But he does just destroy the white base, which is a pretty major thing. So I was like interested to see where it was going to go from there, considering the white base was destroyed. Interestingly enough, though, Bright Noah is nowhere to be seen on the white base, so I thought that was an interesting little change. It was like somebody else, I guess, that was in charge, or the commander on the white base. But that gets destroyed, so the white base, I guess, is not a factor in this timeline. But yeah, after this happens, I guess they successfully invade Side 3 and steal the RX-78. Which gives Xeon like a massive edge in the 1 Year War, because after that they're able to, I guess, mass produce other mobile suits. Whereas that was one of the advantages of the Federation in the original series, was that they had the technology to develop more Gundams, whereas the Xeon didn't really have that. But now that they have the RX-78, they were able to, the movie basically explains, they were able to further develop it, and they also sort of double down on the new type thing, that Char is a new type. They immediately introduced that concept, and because of this, they developed like the Saikamu system, for the RX-78 and add that onto this version of the RX-78. So it has the kind of similar to what you see in Gundam Unicorn, the Saikamu system, where it has the various bits that are being like telepathically controlled, that disconnect from the main unit. That's kind of like added on to the RX-78. It pretty much doesn't even really resemble the RX-78 in the latter half of the retelling. And it's also painted red, I guess, because of course the red comet, like, Char's red Zaku, but now the RX-78 is painted red, so it really doesn't even resemble the RX-78 at all.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, even before they they updated the design and painted it red, it's just, I'm not a fan of like how drastically different the RX-78's design looks in comparison to the classic design. It's like,
yeah, I guess they had to do something to make it stand out and not be as recognizable, but I feel like in doing that, it's a little bit too much of a departure from the original design.
Yeah, I mean, it still had its like, the white and blue design, painted design, but its facial design it almost looks like it's, it almost looks like an Evangelion of sorts, because the design is like a little bit more slimmed down, and then obviously someone who's worked on Evangelion might have had some input in, I guess, redesigning this version of the RX-78.
Well, and it's interesting to point out too is that it seems like there are a few like Eva references in the series. Yeah. Like the main character, what was it?
Are you talking about
Machu?
Yeah, Machu.
Yeah, she has like the suit that she wears later on kind of resembles a plug suit from Evangelion.
Yeah, it's in a way it kind of does. I mean, obviously it makes sense due to the fact that Studio Karo's working on it. Obviously, it's very likely people who've worked on the Rebuild series will have likely had some input and like on like a lot of the design input for this movie as well. But yeah, so like you were saying, when I guess during the late stages of the 1 year war, which I think Char befriends what was it, a new character in the Zeon forces. I think his name is Chalia Bull.
So he's not a new character. He was a character in the original series. The thing is that he was a very minor character in the original series. But for some reason in this series they decided to make him like a main, like a major character.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing though is that they also skip over like a vast majority of like what happens during the original series. Like a lot of events are just either not mentioned or just completely skipped. And we pretty much cut right to the end of the series where it also plays out very differently, which is like the battle of what was it? The battle, like that, the giant comet, basically, that they're like fighting on, where with Cassilia Zabi there. And it plays out differently too, of course, also because Amuro's not involved and the white base crew isn't involved, so a lot of it happens differently. We really don't see the Federation side of things much at all. It's mostly just, we see things from Char's perspective, as well as conversations with Cassilia Zabi and like some of her underlings, I guess. And they have a very different plan, I guess, to kind of end the war, take out the Federation, as opposed to like what happens in the original series.
Yeah, and by the end of this battle, I guess what happens is I think the Saikamu control device malfunctions, which for whatever reason it teleports Char and the Gundam off to some unknown location, which we don't know where. And of course, the movie doesn't really answer this, unfortunately. So we'll have
there's another thing too. So the before this happens, like Char is about to like blow or like he's going to blow up the I forget, I'm blanking on the name, but the giant comet that Zeon where Zeon is basically just plants bombs there. And then he encounters someone else in another mobile suit, which he assumes is possibly Sayla. but we don't know for sure because we never actually see her piloting it. But that would be an interesting change. I was honestly more interested in like the different directions some of the original series characters would have possibly been taken in this retelling, but we don't really get much of it. Maybe we'll see that like what happens like later in the main series with some of those original characters. But yeah, like that happens right before he gets he basically, he gets teleported somewhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, not really a spoiler, but I'm assuming that possibly Lala has something to do with why what he saw, I guess, before he got teleported. Because a lot of that is very similar to what you see with Lala Soon in the original series and what she can do, and because she's like she's kind of a different type of new type. She's a more powerful new type, so she's able to do stuff like make you see like illusions and visions and hallucinations, stuff like that. So and also you kind of hear a voice, I think, when he does get teleported. So I'm assuming Lala probably has something to do with that.
Yeah. And after even after Char's disappearance, Xeon eventually still wins the war against the Federation. Well, of course, I think the Federation and Xeon agree to a truce, but overall, Xeon, in a way, won the war
Yeah.
overall.
Xeon pretty much takes complete control, and all of it seems like the Earth Federation is like pretty much being oppressed, or they're seen as like second class citizens, I guess.
Yeah. So the movie skips 5 years after, but here's another thing. Obviously, if you'll notice there's a complete different art style soon after the time skip.
Yeah. So I'm mixed on this art style. Honestly, I feel like it kind of clashes with the art style because the characters from the original series, they don't look that different. But the new characters, they look very different than like the original series characters. So it's just a little bit off-putting, like seeing them. I guess like you sometimes even might see them in the same scene.
Yeah, especially Chalia Bull's appearance is drastically different compared to what you see on the prologue to what you see right now. So I don't know why they decided to. I mean I could understand if like they were they were going with the art style, they were going with a lot of with the main storyline, but but I'm just curious like why they decided to do it with the prologue as well if they were going in that direction. Either like they're just doing like for nostalgia's sake, for making it as close to the classic as possible. But the fact is, like, the Gundam design doesn't change. It like especially with the RX-78. So yeah, it's just the whole the coloring, the character design is like the humanoid character design is like slightly different, with slightly larger heads with similar body. You get what I mean, but so much of the remainder of this film takes place on a colony of Side 6, in which we get introduced to a new character named Amate Yuzuhira, or aka Machu, and she eventually runs into a smuggler. I forgot her name. Who
well, she calls herself Neon.
Okay. So she ends up stealing like some kind of device. I think it has something to do with the Saikamu system. And
it's like it's some kind of a hard drive.
Yeah. And she's basically going to use it to use on one of the mobile suits for I guess for something called the clan battle. Basically what it is just like, it's more of an illegal like fighting tournament or whatever it is, in which like one or two of each mobile suits on each side like battle that out off somewhere where I guess where Xeon has no control over, I guess, but it's but as to why
this sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so as to why that why I'm just curious as to why the clan battle is really even the main focus of of the
I
series because that.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what I was kind of concerned about when I heard about the details of the plot is that there was going to be these clan battles and that was I guess going to be like supposedly at least the main focus of the series because the Gundam series we had before this, the Witch from Mercury, it focused heavily on the these battles or these like battles in high school, Gundam battles, and I wasn't really a fan of that because especially because the prologue of that series made you think it was going to be a completely different series, and it kind of went that direction in the latter half, but of course it didn't really end up going anywhere. That's a whole different discussion, but I was just concerned about that because I remember the Witch from Mercury also did the same thing, so I was a little bit concerned because I didn't want this series to kind of just go that same direction of it also just being, I guess, just focused on just tournaments or Gundam tournaments. So I'm hoping that's not really what it is. I don't mind that, at least if that's where they're going to. That's what's going on in the beginning of the series, but I don't really. I hope that's not like what the main plot is going to be about.
Yeah,
Is like just these different like underground, I guess, Gundam
yeah,
battles.
especially what the prologue sets up. I mean, I hope we go back to that
Yeah,
main plot.
and in that sense, it's also very similar to Wish from Mercury, where like it makes you think it's going to be about one thing, and then it turns out being about something else.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, it does kind of get there in a way. So what happens is, um, Charlie Bull gets information that the Red Gundam has reappeared. So he sends out like one of his ensigns who pilots like a new Gundam called the GQUUUUUX. Uh, so
We also the other thing too is that we learned that the GQuox is like I guess it's not the official name of the unit. That's like just I guess a placeholder name.
yeah, yeah. So they send the ensign out to to capture the Red Gundam, but of course the Red Gundam, um, you know, I guess in a way it has the upper hand against this pilot because he has no control over like I guess the Saikamo unit, and that's not until I guess what was it Machu runs into the G Quux fighting the Red Gundam, and then she takes control of the G Quux, which the Saikamo unit is able to perfectly sync with her, so she's able to to pilot the Gundam I guess in a more efficient way than this ensign pilot did.
Which of course, if the Saikamo unit is able to work with her, that as far as I know, I'm not like an expert on Gundam lore or whatever, but that would mean that she is a new type because only new types can use the Saikamu system.
Yeah, I mean they didn't really specifically state that she's a new type.
At least that's what we know from like from stuff like Gundam Unicorn,
Mhm.
and the original timeline of the series. I mean, of course they could maybe do things differently in this because it's like alternate timeline,
Yeah,
but as far as we know, like that's how things work in the original timeline.
yeah. So so Machu is able to to use the G-Quux and basically just take out the military police mobile suits that were pursuing her uh, earlier on in the film alongside Neon. So after she's able to take them out, I guess Neon's group is fascinated with how well she's able to pilot the suit, so they decide to recruit her into their group to use in the what was it in the clan battle tournament. Uh, at the same time, later on in the film, she finds out who is piloting the red RX-78, which I think this character's name is Shuji Ito, and he
Yeah.
also agrees to team up with her in the upcoming clan battle fight. And of course, by the end of the end of the movie, of course, it showcases like them working together, fighting against two other mobile suits, um, and of course, Machu does initially have trouble at first, but she's able to, like I said, she's able to use the Saikamo to her advantage, and then pretty much defeat the other two mobile. No, I think it was one of the Red Gundams took care of one, and the other one. Uh, is of course the GQUUUUUX is able to defeat the other one too.
Yeah, we should also mention that she is also able to see, or at least she sees at some points, the that same visual phenomenon
Mhm.
that Char witnessed, which she refers to, I think, as the kiri or something like that.
Yeah,
And that's before she meets. I think it was a what was it, Shuji, or that one guy. The graffiti he's painting like reminds her of the kiri. So I'm wondering. I guess that's maybe a hint that he maybe has something to do with the maybe has something to do with the Red Gundam, or well, what that aspect of the Red Gundam, I guess, or whatever. But but yeah, like that's pretty much where the movie ends. Is that like first fight or the first battle of the clan battle? Um, I mean, I'm interested with the idea that it's like a reimagining of the original series, but at the same time, I'm also like not a fan of it focusing on like these underground Gundam tournaments. I'm hoping it goes somewhere other than that. Like maybe that's just where it starts and then the plot goes somewhere else.
yeah,
Because there is also this focus on the oppression of the I guess the Xeon forces oppressing the Earth Federation people as well. So I'm guessing maybe it could go somewhere with that. And then there's of course the mystery of where Char went, what happened to him in the Red Gundam.
yeah,
A major question on my mind, of course, also is what is going on with Amuro. I mean, we don't really even he's never even mentioned, so I'm very curious as to what happened to him or where he is, because and not to mention him, and also any of the other original series characters. That's another thing. Like I'm interested to see what with with the series is like, what are they going to do with those characters?
yeah.
I think they even mention as well that characters like Garma, who are supposed to die in the original series, like I think he's actually still alive. Makuve as well, I think he's also alive. I think Cecilia might also be alive too. So I'm really interested as to what they're going to do with those characters, considering they're supposed they're supposed to be dead.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, especially well now with this new alternate timeline with Char taking control of the RX-78. Obviously, like Xeon had the upper hand throughout the entirety of that war, according to the
yeah.
film. Um,
Well, that's the other thing too. Is I'd like to know how those battles that happened in the original series played out in that version of the 1 Year War that Xeon had the upper hand, and also considering the white base, I'm assuming was not involved in any of
no, I
that.
mean, well, with Amuro pretty much missing in action or pretty much non-existent throughout that entire war, there's no way that the Earth Federation would have any sort of upper hand against the Xeon forces. Now, with uh, in
Yeah,
control of the RX-78.
and another key figure in that war being like General Revel, for instance. Like I wonder what happened to him. Like he never got mentioned. So I
No.
mean, he was a major part as to why like the Federation really won the 1 Year War
Yeah.
too. Um, so but yeah, like overall, like I thought it was decent. I think the part I'm most interested in, like I've mentioned, is just the reimagining of the original series. I don't mind these new characters, but it really just kind of depends on what happens with them and what happens with the new plot. Um, I mean, I guess I'm somewhat cautiously optimistic
Yeah.
about it,
I
but
mean,
uh,
I don't think that we'll get much in the way of what happened during the 1 Year War. I think
mm,
my interest is like, what happened to Char? Like where did he go? How did this character named Shuji Ito was able to commandeer the RX-78 soon afterwards? And I guess in a way, like I would love to hear some answers with some of the classic characters, preferably Amuro. Um, but obviously they're putting more focus on a lot of the new cast of characters. For this instance, like the whole clan battle stuff, I guess it's a way for us to see like how the GQUUUUUX performs in battle. Um, I'm
yeah,
just I'm just hoping like you, I'm hoping that the whole clan battle thing is not the whole main main like storyline, because it'll obviously distract of like what happened that was showcased in the prologue with what happened during the 1 Year War, what happened to Char, so on and so forth.
Well, and also we should point out that by the end of the movie, Shali Ebola is now aware of the fact that I guess because they were looking for the stolen GQUUUUUX, he knows. I guess he knows who has the GQUUUUUX now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that after that he's probably gonna go looking for it or something.
I think he's gonna let things play out for for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Overall, it's not bad. The movie, the introductory movie is not bad, but I don't know if it was really even necessary for them to release this as a movie, considering that they will be releasing this in episodic format next month. I still like the premise of this being is reestablishing itself back into the into the classic universe century arc with a different twist of like how the 1 Year War played out differently this time around. But I'm just hoping.
One other thing I want to mention about that too, real quick, is I liked how they use the the original sound effects and music cues from the original series.
I definitely like that too. With with the whole sound effects of how the whole SciComm unit performs. I think what was it that little jingle thing in which they
the sound effect, like when they show like episode titles and stuff, like they reuse that.
Yeah.
And also some of the I guess the effects of the explosion and different sound effects like from the original series they just reused in the movie.
Yeah. Just a minor criticism. It's just like how vastly different the art style is with the current design comparison to like how they I guess they wanted to use the somewhat classic art designs for the characters in the prologue. It's just I don't know. It just looked a little bit jarring when I saw a transition that way.
Yeah, I mean, and it does like make me wonder if they're going to have like the other original series characters, like if they do show up, like if they're just going to have that same art style like how they used in the beginning of the movie, like for those characters, and how they're gonna look like next to the new characters.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll have to find out next month, and and how the rest of the story is going to play out. Obviously, they're going to replay a lot of what we already seen. I guess assuming if this is maybe 3 or 4 episodes worth of content.
Yeah, guys. But that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.